passion runs so deep, man. So much history, pageantry.
1 week closer to kickoff.
That's the way we answer.
It starts with culture. It's a mentality, it's a way of life, it's a DNA.
College football free agency. Transfer portal.
The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins.
Say that. Say that again. Coaches only. Players only. Everybody. It's time.
College football is different. They're
of the 12-team playoff.
Boy, fire to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
The Bet the Line brought to you by Robbins Properties. If you're looking for a house, townhome, or apartment to rent or own in the central Iowa area, they are the people that will take care of you. That is Robbins Properties. Before we get started here, make sure to click the like button and subscribe and turn on all bell notifications to stay up to date on all things college football. Also, if you want, you can follow us on Instagram at Bet the Line Podcast to see all our cards and locks. Why don't we start here? Iowa State snaps a home losing streak since 2011 by defeating Iowa 16-13.
What a beautiful time to be an Iowa State Cyclone in general. We're in the golden era of Iowa State sports right now. Just gonna lead off and say this. You know, it does feel like there is an official shift now that Iowa State is the premier football program in the state. Definitely feels like it's turning in ISU's favor. You know, 3 of the last 4, like you said, Mike, they finally broke the streak. Finally won the first one in Ames since 2011. Second year in a row, Kyle Conradi, ice in his veins, hit a 54-yarder to win the game last year with 8 seconds left. Hit another 54-yarder this year with, just under 2 minutes left to go ahead. The other thing too, like if you remember on their final drive, the Rocco Becht pass that got tipped that ended up being caught by their tight end Gabe Burkle. Like that's another thing to me that it just feels like things are shifting in Iowa State's favor finally in this rivalry. Like that is a play that the last 10, 15 years always goes in Iowa's favor, and a play that it's a luck play, but stuff that Iowa State hasn't gotten in the past few years.
It's one of the more surprising things about the rivalry right now is that Iowa State is becoming such a better team, and you can see that late in the game because that's what I feel like what Iowa football has been, over so many years is late in the game like such. That's what makes them such a good football team, and Iowa State's finally kind of turning the page, and Iowa is kind of regressing, people could say it's time for Kirk to kind of hang it up, but there's a lot more to it than just that. But I see what you mean, Jake. A couple years ago when the muffed punt ball didn't bounce their way, there's a lot of plays. There's a lot of plays we could probably point out, but it's not just the luck, but also being such a great football team. You do have plays like that are going to pop up. So
they did. It's funny you say that. Going into the game, I always feel like as an Iowa State fan, like I can expect one special teams blunder. And it happened, that punt return in the first half where hits an Iowa State player, Iowa recovers it. Next thing you know, Iowa has great field position. But outside of that, multiple Iowa punts that were kind of shanked, Iowa State starting with the ball on the 45 to 50-yard line, this rivalry, I want to say the Matt Campbell era has always felt like Iowa State just always has the worst field position the entire game. Like you're starting to drive at your own 3, at your own 5. Just try not to turn the ball over and punt it back to Iowa and try and get better field position the next round. So it just feels overall like the entire rivalry has shifted. Additionally, it's pretty cool to see the Fox Big Noon kickoff crew there, and a lot of positivity on Ames and the college scene there. And I will just add on Iowa State side, I think my favorite player to watch that's probably the most underrated player because he plays a position where you don't get a lot of great stats is the one and only Big Citrus. he is just the heart and soul of that defense. He's the guy who makes plays that, like I said, like they don't show up in stat sheets, but when you're taking on 2 offensive linemen by yourself, like that's
Yeah.
huge. That's another guy on the field that can now go make the play. So he does the
Matt
dirty work.
Campbell came out earlier in the year and said that he was going to get 40 to 50 snaps a game. And I know the Kansas State game he did, and I'm sure the Iowa game he did as well. And for a big DT in the middle, without him out there, who knows, but I understand why he wants him out there 40 to 50 plays a game.
Right. I think the only other thing I'd add to the game overall on the Iowa side is that if you look at the course of the last 5 years, really the post Nate Stanley era of Iowa football, they've gone through multiple offensive coordinators. They've gone through multiple quarterbacks. I think it's at the point where a lot of people have accepted Kirk Ferentz is the biggest problem. And I think you can always go into the argument of the whole, well, if we get rid of Kirk, who do we get, right? Like, look at Bo Pelini in Nebraska. 9-3 wasn't good enough. Until last year, since they fired Bo, they had not won a bowl game. So, I get it, but I think that collectively the Iowa fan base is also ready for a new era, even if that means taking a step back. It's just been a brutal offense to watch the last 5 years, and it sucks because they always have an elite defense. I definitely think Iowa's going to hire from within. I don't know who that's going to be. Definitely used to think it was going to be Brian Ferenz, right or wrong, just based on him being in the program and being Kirk's son and, seeing the program and what it takes to succeed. Whether Iowa's offense is good or not, they do always compete. They've always been successful. Not as successful as some of the other teams in college football, but, you can always count on them being 8-4. But with him gone, I don't know, but I do think that Iowa is going to look from within the program.
Yeah, I don't think they want to change their identity by any means. They're not going to go out there and get someone that's going to want to pass the ball around and spread it out and kind of forget about the defense. I think it's always still going to be a true Big Ten team.
Right.
This was the first time since 1978 that Iowa State had played Iowa and Iowa State was ranked and Iowa wasn't. So, there's been a lot of other games out there where it's been, roles reversed, but Iowa State still puts up a good fight and it ends up being a 1-score game. So
there was a time where I thought Iowa State was legitimately going to lose.
Oklahoma defeats Michigan 24-13 at home. Q, I know you're a big John Mateer fan. What are your thoughts on this game?
He played great. I'll go out there and say that if he's not the best quarterback in the league, he's for sure the best dual threat quarterback in the league. Had 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing. He looked sharp through the air. I think both defenses are exceptional. I think both defenses will be the best in their respective conference. So my biggest takeaway was, and I know it's at Oklahoma, second game of the year, but second game in a row, I'm not really impressed with Bryce Underwood. I know when a true freshman 5-star doesn't throw for 400 yards a game, everybody's up in arms and telling him that he needs to be benched. But I don't know, kind of a bit underperforming. I don't think he looks like a 5-star, but I do think that he looks like a true freshman. So I can give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he'll grow. I think Michigan can still be in the playoff race this year, but I thought it was a great, fun game. I thought the score was a little bit deceiving. It felt like Oklahoma was in control the whole time. Felt like they won by a lot more, but it was a good game.
I think to Bryce Underwood's defense, big shoes to fill if you exclude the 2024 season. He's basically following in behind the greatest Michigan quarterback of all time and a future Hall of Famer in the NFL, J.J. McCarthy.
That's crazy, dude.
I had to squeeze that in after last night's big fourth quarter. But, no, truthfully, yeah, he's a true freshman playing on the road, second game of his career at Oklahoma. That's a tough ask to have him go on the road and, try and win that game. I think if you're Oklahoma, you got to be feeling great right now for multiple reasons. Like, we've talked about it. I think everybody knows, Brent Venables kind of on the hot seat. It's time to do or die at Oklahoma. And not only that, you can now say after 2 games comfortably You got the offensive coordinator and quarterback right. John Mateer has been everything that they thought and wanted him to be through 2 games. I do think moving forward, hopefully that he doesn't run the ball 19 times a game every single week, especially with SEC play. I mean, I think that's going to be some wear and tear. But one thing that stood out to me specifically was Oklahoma at one point in the game had a 16-play, 8-minute drive. And I feel like that's something that they have not had probably since the Bob Stoops era. I mean, the Lincoln Riley teams were good, but it was always like quick strikes. It was 7 plays, 4 minutes. It was 8 plays, 3 minutes. Like, you got to be able to leave your defense off the field for an extended period of time to give them a rest. So that was huge to see that, when it mattered, Oklahoma could sustain a drive like that. And again, to Oklahoma fans feeling good, like, the SEC is wide open right now. Texas lost week 1. I know a lot of people don't really believe in Arch right now. Georgia hasn't looked great through 2 weeks. Alabama's already lost. Florida's lost. Like, this is the most wide open an SEC has been in as long as I can remember.
I think Oklahoma definitely needed to win a lot more than Michigan. I think we all kind of forget how god-awful Michigan's offense was last year. And that was with Gus Edwards and, a decent run game. It just didn't work out. So, we're putting a lot of pressure on a freshman quarterback to come in and think that everything's just going to be magical and perfect again. I was surprised, by how just they weren't able to move the ball that much on Oklahoma's defense, but I think you give credit to Oklahoma's defense too.
This Oklahoma team, man, they have that guy. I feel like when I'm watching Oklahoma, it feels like the Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray days. Like, he has swagger, he has confidence, and he's walking around like, hey, I'm the quarterback for the best team in the country. And you can tell it's rubbing off in that locker room with how they play. Like, they're coming out there and thinking, hey, we're the guys to beat. We're not the guys that have to beat somebody to prove ourselves. Move on. Missouri comes out on top in the border rivalry against Kansas. Absolute shootout. Final score 42-31. Bo Pearl is really freaking good. I got to give him credit. 30 for 39 on passing, 334 passing yards, no interceptions. Dude just balled out, looked great. He had the fumble there. I think it was like in the second or third quarter. But Kansas, they got up early, capitalized on a couple turnovers, and then we started making turnovers ourselves. Jalen Daniels had a couple fumbles. Yeah, as a Missouri fan right now, you have to be feeling very good about yourself with Bo Pearl being able to pass like he does, understand the pocket presence, the pressure, know when to run, get out, and then you have a dude with Ahmad Harvey, top 10 back in the country. Their defense, in my eyes, a little deficiency there. Cornerbacks need some work. Other than that, Kansas perspective, they look good. Offensive line needs a lot of work, though. Jalen Daniels, I feel like, is scrambling every play. I get it. He's an elite runner. He can get out, he can run, but you got to give him time to make a pass. And then also there's a time late in the fourth quarter, we were down a touchdown, and I feel like Lance Leipold kind of played for field position instead of playing for the win. We can't have that. I think on a 4th and 7, big rivalry game, your defense hasn't been able to really stop Missouri. You need to go for that. We saw it with Missouri all game. They 40-yard line, 30-yard line did not matter. They were going for it on 4th down. And they capitalized the majority of the game, and that was the difference in the game. I think we proved to a lot of people that we can compete. I know we were a big question mark. Haven't played much competition, but watching that SEC game, knowing that we had several chances to close that game out and beat Missouri, who will probably be a 9-win team. Yeah, I'm happy with how we fought in that game.
A Big 12 team competing with a, say, top tier, close to top tier SEC school. You're in the running to win the Big 12 if you're able to keep up with those guys,
Mike, I think, yeah, you said it. Like, if I'm a Kansas fan, I would be feeling good. I think there are moral victories in football in some instances. I think it kind of depends, but knowing how bad things went last season, I mean, there was the 3-game win streak towards the end of the year over ranked opponents, but knowing how bad things went, but also knowing what your guys' ceiling is and actually seeing it in action against the top. I think Missouri's, like you said, they're going to be a 9-10 win team this year. I think they're in tier 2 of the SEC. I don't think they're quite up there with the top of it, but definitely a good team. So, yeah, you guys went in there. Could have won the game very easily, even though you didn't. You got to be feeling good heading into Big 12 play.
Massive upset. South Florida knocks down Florida at the Swamp, 18-16.
I think this was the game that put the nail in the coffin for Billy Napier's career at Florida if he doesn't turn the season around. I think if he goes 8-5 again, they're going to look at this game and be like, this is where it all snowballed, and this was the game that got him fired. I want him to succeed. I don't think Florida is the place for him to do that at. I mean, I'm not going to say it was a fluke game for USF. I do think they're a very talented team. I do think they deserved that win more than Florida did. I think Florida kind of expected it to be a blowout, as I think most people did, if we're being honest. But I mean, credit to USF. That is probably the biggest win in school history. And they can easily back it up and prove it by going to another Florida school, top 5 school at Miami, and winning. So I think people are gonna look at USF a lot different if they go and win at Miami as well.
It's not as bad of a loss either for Florida. Say USF ends up going on a run or something, and they end up not necessarily beating Miami, but they hang in there with them. I mean, it's still not a great loss, but I'm saying, you know what I mean?
So I want to go back to Florida for a minute, fellas. The reason why I don't think that they could have lost this game, we're going to go through the rest of their schedule this season.
It's the hardest schedule known to man.
Understand they're 1-1 as it currently stands. 2 weeks from now at Miami. After that, home against Texas, at Texas A&M, home against Mississippi State, home against Georgia, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, home against Tennessee, home against Florida State. I can confidently tell you right now they are not going to make a bowl game this year. I think seriously.
I mean, yeah.
I think it's a combination of Billy Napier not being the guy. I think it's a combination of DJ Lagway. We all love what his ceiling could be, but he seems like he just can't get over nagging injuries. And I just think the Florida football program over the course of our lifetime, just maybe outside of the Urban Meyer era, has always been just so undisciplined. The reason USF had a chance at the end of that game is because the Florida player spit in the USF player's face. It's the stuff like that that is preventing Florida from being back to, what they once were, what we once knew them to be. If you remember 5 years ago, the LSU football game, last game of the year, where Florida player literally takes an LSU football player's shoe and just chucks that thing 35 yards, gets an unsportsmanlike conduct. Next thing you know, LSU kicks a 60-yarder to win the game. It's just stuff like that until you get a coach that can control the locker room, they're just always going to remain undisciplined.
Mind you, that shoe game
didn't control the locker room, if you know what I mean. Sorry, Coach.
He really didn't.
That shoe game, they were 10-1, ranked 4th, and if they would have won that game, and obviously they had the SEC championship game, but that LSU loss, throwing the shoe, that kept them out of the playoffs right there.
Yep.
You could argue in the past 15 years, since 2010, Florida has had more hype than success.
Yeah. And Clayton, honestly, you're right. Urban Meyer probably didn't have the locker room as much as he should have. If you watch the Netflix documentary, The Swamp. But that being said, they won 2 national championships with them. So, you kind of throw that stuff under the rug. But,
you kind of have to – it all comes down to culture and coach, and it's not –
I think
I think how he ended the season last year, they'll give him a grace period. And let's say he starts off 1-4, they'll be like, well, he ended the season really well last year. Let's see what he can do. I bet they roll him out.
He has to.
He's got to beat a couple
juggernauts.
juggernauts.
Schedule again. out of Miami, Texas, and Texas A&M, to still be employed, he has to win one of those. 2 of them are on the road. So if you can get one of those, he's still going to be employed. If for any circumstance he loses to Mississippi State, see it. It is a real possibility because Mississippi State ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were like one of us born into Florida football, they win a couple of national championships, you're like, cool, my life's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have a great program forever.
Billy Napier in his press conference, I don't know if you guys heard, but they asked him about like the loss here, and he goes, it's on me. It's on the coaching staff. I didn't have my team ready to play. You can't have that. Your team had over 100 yards and penalties. That is game plan and discipline right there, and it was not there. And it's almost like we should have saw this coming. With Florida's past, Billy Napier's past, DJ Lagway having an injury all offseason, kind of a look past game here against South Florida, who just beat Boise State. So you're not completely focused on it. You're more focused on your next matchup against LSU. I don't know. I feel like we should have saw it coming.
I'm just shocked that at one point this past offseason I actually texted you and said Florida over 7.5 wins.
Oof.
Because then when we talked about that like a month ago, I was like, oh, there's no chance that team.
It literally looked like they did not want to be there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have to give your flowers to South Florida as well. Like I said earlier, beating a ranked Boise State team. This coach, and Alex Golash, I believe is his name, has South Florida on all cylinders right now going into this Miami game.
I was just going to say I would like to see Byron Brown work his way into the Heisman talks, so we potentially have another group of 5 in the playoff with a Heisman hopeful. That'd be pretty cool to watch 2 years in a row, but that I won't.
Let's move on here. Another big-time game, meltdown. Baylor beats SMU in double overtime, 48-45. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe SMU was up 2 scores with like 8 minutes left, maybe even less than that. Kevin Jennings, quarterback for SMU, this was his first loss at home.
Baylor dug deep, and I got a question for everybody in this group because there were some choice words after last week's loss. Do we believe in Sawyer Robertson now?
Maybe a little bit more.
All right. Hey, Sawyer Robertson's a stud for real. I will say this was like a classic Big 12 game where just a lot of offense, minimal defense, which is crazy to say because Dave Arnott, literally, like, when you think of him as a coach, like, he's a defensive mind. That's when he first took over the Baylor program and when they won the Big 12 championship a few years ago, was based on defense. So it's crazy to see that their defense is, pretty much non-existent at this point. But that being said, Baylor needed that win bad, and they got it.
Yeah, Sawyer Robertson balled out. I know he went 7 for 12 passing, accumulation of 127 yards and 2 touchdown passes, all in the fourth quarter. So, you talked about J.J. McCarthy coming alive in the fourth quarter. Sawyer Robertson did that in this game in a must-win game.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back to last year, though, like I'm not super worried about SMU at this point. Like, they lost last year, week 2 to BYU, I believe, at home again. I could be wrong, but
do you have to go through SMU to be like the Big 12 sleeper? Is that what it is now?
No, but I mean, SMU is a good.
Other notable scores in games around the country: Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama all shut out their opponents. Clemson comes back to win by being down 16 to Troy. Final score is 27-16. Mississippi State pulls off a thrilling victory, upsetting 12th-ranked Arizona State 24-20 in last-minute fashion. Ole Miss beats Kentucky on the road in an SEC matchup 30-23. Illinois beats Duke on the road as well, 45-19. That game was 14-13 at half. Texas A&M beats Utah State 44-22, failed to cover the spread in both of their games so far this year. And Kansas State loses to Army at home 24-21. Any thoughts on any of those games?
Yeah, the top 7 seeds gave up a combined 27 points against it was like 300 and some odd points in 27. Like, I'm not going to wear Ohio State stuff on this channel until we actually play someone. So week 1 was obvious. We played Texas, but I mean, I know we're giving these schools some money, but at the same time, preseason game, Like that's what they are, and it's week 2. Week 3. Like you go from such technically week 3, but week 2. Like you go from such great slate on week 1, and then week 2 rolls around, and you have that, dude. It just kind of puts a damper on the college football season. And I mean, if you told Ohio State, hey, we're going to play this game preseason, Grambling State, that's practically what it is. So, I mean, I understand it's tradition that's been going on for years, and that's how all the schedule makers are. But at the same time, it's kind of just slows down the momentum of a lot of teams and in college football, and especially after coming off the week 1 high like that.
Some teams need it, though, like Bama.
I don't know. I would just like to see maybe some change, but we could be years out from that.
Yeah. I think just an overall few keynotes I had. First and foremost, Clemson might be dead. Kate Klubnik just does not look great. Defense looks okay. I don't know. I don't really know what to think. Not really selling stock on them yet, but all the preseason hype from not only us, but just the entire national media, just to see the product they put on the field the first 2 weeks is a little disappointing. Not sure if you guys watched, but Georgia, I mean, they won the game. I'm not worried about them all, but I want to say they struggled, but they did not look great. Like Gunnar Stockton playing well into the fourth quarter of that game was not on my bingo card. I figured that was one drive after the start of the second half and backups are in. Mississippi State, you said it, Mike, but what a win for that program. And then last thing, K-State starting to feel like, no offense, but Kansas of 24.
I think their coach is on the hot seat too. But I want to talk about the Mississippi State game just for a second. I don't know if you guys watched it. I was tuned in. Obviously, this is my lock. For a team to win like that after giving up a 95-yard drive that was all run plays and having about 45 seconds left to come down and just air it out and not even play for the field goal to tie it to send it overtime. They went for the win. Spectacular win for Mississippi State. That is a real effort there for them. So, yeah, Mississippi State's going to be a problem. I truly think that. I think they'll play spoiler to a couple of SEC teams.
I don't know if you guys caught comments from Kenny Dillingham post-game, but he was talking about like the play call that they ran on the touchdown they gave up at the end of the game. And I actually I understood what he was saying and I kind of respected it. So they ran, it was like cover 0, basically, all out blitz. And they gave up a touchdown. But what he had to say about it was basically like, look, that was a play call that we made that was like, if we get to the quarterback, this game's over. Like, it's done. So it didn't work out that time. But I get it.
For the Clemson game, too, like you were saying, like you don't know how you feel about Clemson. That game was weird. There's a lightning delay, coming off a loss where you felt like you were in it and you get shut out in the whole second half, and then going into a game like this, almost like a walk in the park type game, and then you have a lightning delay. I just think they were stagnant, Another look pass game here, possibly. This team is way too good on paper to not be good in my eyes. So I think they'll get it figured out.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Adam Brand. He called that Troy covering the spread game. Credit to you, Adam. We appreciate you, love and support.
Marcel Reed looks sharp. I think he looks very, very sharp in the passing game. He's almost halfway to how many total touchdowns he had through the air last year, and it's only week 3. So I think that's a very, very promising sign and how he's matured as a passer. But I mean, they're scoring 40+ a game. They're also giving up 20+ to teams they should hold to 3. So I mean, the defense was, I thought, going to be their selling point this year as a team, but their defense has just looked very, very slow and lackadaisical.
Moving on, fellas, we move into players that shined. Starting out, kind of touched on it a little bit, but one, Bo Pribula. As we mentioned, as early as last week, he was not the starter for the Missouri Tigers. That being said, due to injury, he's your new QB1, and in a huge rivalry game, the Border War, Bo was able to go for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 77% completion percentage. And as I touched on in the Cy-Hawk game, Kyle Conrarty is my honorable mention. Consecutive years with a 54-yard game-winning field goal against the Iowa Hawkeyes. So build that statue right now, fellas.
My player that shined, I know we talked about him earlier, but Sawyer Robinson, Baylor quarterback, he had 440 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions on the day. A must-win game for them. I feel like they needed that win to just prove themselves. Led his team, who was down 38-24 with 8 minutes left. Led them all the way down, tied it up, and then double overtime, got the victory. He looked solid back there. He looked comfortable. Gave Kevin Jennings, like I said earlier, his first loss at home. Not once did he panic or try to force anything that he shouldn't. So a real leader performance by him.
I chose Luke Altmaier. I took Duke's spread, and I thought I was pretty confident in that. But, he torched Duke's defense. Near perfect game. He only had 9 incompletions, 3 touchdowns, and nearly 300 yards. He's a quarterback that I kind of doubted last year. Not like doubted, but like people would talk about it, and I would just kind of be like, it's Illinois. I think Illinois is starting to, week after week this year, deserve their ranking. I know a lot of people don't think that they're a top 10 team. I'm kind of on the fence. I think they're working more towards earning that, and I think Luke Altmaier at the helm is the reason for that. So I think Illinois will be in a primed position to potentially make a playoff push. I think they'll likely be undefeated by the time Ohio State rolls into town. I think, spoiler alert, I'll probably take Ohio State to lose that game. So I'm just impressed by Luke Altmaier and his ability to continuously prove me wrong. So
moving on to teams that shined, I'll start out. So the University of South Florida, at this moment in time, they're the Group of 5 Cinderella story. Week 1, big win, knocked off Boise State. And then this past week, as we touched on, we're able to go into Gainesville and steal a win on the road against the Florida Gators. So only team in the country that's 2-0 against ranked teams at this moment in time. Now, whether you still view them as a ranked win or not, since Boise State and Florida are no longer ranked, is another story. But South Florida for sure. And then I did another honorable mention for this category, and I'm going with Alabama. I know Alabama played nobody, but they responded as well as you could have and won 73-0. I think everybody in that program heard the outside chatter, the players, DeBoer, etc. They had a players-only meeting this past week, and Ty Simpson came out, didn't throw an incompletion. Everybody took care of business, so Alabama for sure.
I'm going to go with Illinois. They went up against a tough Duke opponent at Duke. They scored 35 points off Duke mistakes. So a team like that can make your opponent's mistakes cost them is a dangerous team, and I think they proved that. I know last episode we were talking about like what's the hype behind Illinois' top rank. I think they proved that in this game. This game was 14-13 at half. Final score was 45-19. Just an absolute masterpiece by the coaching staff during half to just readjust, figure out a different game plan, come into it, and literally shut them out. Luke Altmaier balled out, 296 passing yards, 0 interceptions, and then Hank Beatty showed up against them in this one with another 100-yard performance by him. That's 2 in a row. He had 128 receiving yards. So, yeah, Illinois showed me something.
I chose Oregon simply because of the two extremes between the beginning of last season and the beginning of this season. Everybody remembers that Oregon almost lost to the entire state of Idaho first 2 weeks last year. And I think the way that they started this year especially on the offensive side, because last year it was always, we won, but when's the offense going to click? When's the offense going to click? And they are firing on all cylinders early in the season for the first time in a long time. I think DeCorian Moore I think he can have type of Jeremiah Smith freshman season in him. He is a stud. I mean, he's looking good. Dante Moore is finally looking like a 5-star quarterback. I just think that I'm not going to say that they have the best offense in the nation right now, because you can probably say 10 different teams have the best offense in the nation. I mean, USC is averaging like 69 points a game. So, but I am very impressed with how well-rounded Oregon is at this point of the season.
We'll get into the updated top 25 rankings. Same thing as last week. I kind of like what we're doing there. If you have a question about a team, disagree with it, just yell out stop. So we'll start here. We'll go 1, Ohio State. They remain the same. Penn State remains the same at 2. LSU, Oregon 4. They moved up 2 spots. Miami 5. Georgia 6. Texas 7. 8, Notre Dame. 9, Illinois. 10, Florida State. 11, South Carolina.
I'll stop you. I don't think Florida State should be top 10 at all. Kind of the same reason I don't think that Alabama game was that big of a win that they need to be ranked top 10. I don't think Alabama is that good this year. I just don't think they deserve to be top 10 after one win like that.
12, Clemson. 13, Oklahoma. 14, Iowa State. Oklahoma jumped up 5 spots, by the way. 14, Iowa State. 15, jumped up 7 spots here, Tennessee. 16, Texas A&M. 17, Ole Miss. 18, finally ranked South Florida. 19, Alabama. 20, Utah. They moved up 5 spots. I know, Jake, you're high on them. Texas Tech is 21. They moved up 3 spots. Indiana at 22. Michigan, 23, fell back 8 spots in the rankings. And then 24 and 25 would be Auburn, Missouri.
So, listen, fellas, I try not to harp on it too much. But the AP rankings suck, and I try and remind myself, you know what, like, they don't even matter. At the end of the season, the college football playoff comes out, and that's all that really matters. First, college football playoff rankings do it right in the fact that they wait until like week 9, week 10, week 11, whatever. I don't remember exactly what week it is, but that actually makes sense. The thing I hate is, like, do I think Penn State is the second best team in the country? Probably. But who have they played through 2 games? You know, do I think Georgia is the number 4 team in the country? Probably. Who have they played through 2 games? Like, we're just ranking teams to rank teams to give us a talking point as college football fans, and that's fine. But, like, there were literally AP ballots this week, so I don't know if you guys look. I like to look at it's all the people who have AP votes, and you can see all of the rankings. And there were ballots this week that had Alabama over FSU, Florida well ahead of South Florida. Someone had Michigan and Florida in their top 15. Like, what do I have to do to get an AP vote? Like, I truly don't understand how these people have an AP vote if they just don't watch games and or do not pay attention to the results of games. Like, there was a lady, I don't remember exactly what her name is, but it's the lady who literally ranked South Florida ahead of Florida. Or sorry, Florida ahead of South Florida. And she was asked, like, you know, what does a team have to do to be ranked in your top 25? And her response was like, I don't care. So it's like, get someone who does care an actual vote. Like, what are we
That's
doing?
why you got to look at the coaches poll. I think there's less bias and a lot more intelligence into those polls, you know?
I think so too, but, like, back to my point, like, how do you get an AP vote? Like, do I just need to put myself in the queue? Like, I'm on a season ticket holder waiting list? Like, I can rank teams better than they can.
And the fact that everyone goes by it, the fact that, like, Fox and ESPN go by the AP and won't veer from that is crazy.
if you're gonna go by one poll at this moment in time, like it's got to be the coaches poll because it's actually people that know ball. It's not people that just get a random vote that can just go not watch college football on a Saturday and then send in a ballot on a Sunday morning.
Why don't we make our own rankings individually?
I think we should.
Let's do it next week.
I'm just gonna do top 12, dude. It's my eye test rankings.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Top 10.
Big Daddy's eye test rankings.
Kansas ranked 15th. No, I'm kidding.
I don't think they're a top 25 team yet. They got to figure out the offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
All right, gentlemen. We move on. Week 3 preview. Starting to get into a little bit of conference play this week. We start out the struggling Clemson Tigers travel to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech in each team's ACC opener. We kind of touched on this, but Clemson's offense through the first 2 weeks has truly struggled. You know, they had to mount a comeback, a 16-0 comeback against Troy. And I haven't seen any glimpses from them to date that really shows us, you know, the national championship caliber team we thought they'd be. Cade Klubnik, who was a preseason Heisman favorite, and, you know, he's always in the discussion of being a top 10 pick. Is he the first quarterback off the board, et cetera? He has 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions through his first 2 games, and he's throwing under 60%. On the flip side, Georgia Tech enters 2-0. They got a huge Week 1 win on the road against Colorado. Haynes King didn't play in Week 2 against Gardner-Webb, but the offense didn't miss a beat. Aaron Philo at QB threw for 373 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Haynes, running back, leads the team with 157 yards rushing and 2 scores through 2 weeks. So I think it's really a big game for both teams. For Clemson, you got to dig deep and find yourself before you're a 2-loss team and can't afford any more room. And then on the flip side, I mean, this is a huge win for Georgia Tech if they can pull it off. You know, this is a program-changing win. This is a, hey, we're here to compete in the ACC and can completely flip the script. So with that, Clemson right now as it stands, minus 3.5 favorites, over under at 53.5. Mike, who do you like and why?
I'm not letting last week's game sway me in a direction. Like I said earlier, you had the delay, the lightning delay that lasted about 30 minutes. The week before that, you had the LSU game, tough loss, got shut out in the second half. They almost looked like they just wanted to be there, and then you see the fourth quarter or the second half start to happen. They're down 16-0, and they're like, "Hey, we actually got to win this thing. We got to come back." And they shut they shut Troy out the whole second half, put up 24 points. Are we really going to sit here? And all 3 of us, Q, Jake, and I, are we really going to sit here with how much we were hyped up about this Clemson team? I mean, the media in general was hyped up with this Clemson team, and we're going to sit here after a tough LSU loss where they were in that game, and LSU's a really good team, and then, you know, a stagnant win against Troy. Are we going to sit here and be out on Clemson? I'm just not buying it. I think Clemson is going to be good. I think the defense is going to be the answer in this game. They're going to be able to stop Haynes King from running around, getting out of the pocket. He's going to have to throw the ball. We saw in the Colorado game what Haynes King is like when you do put pressure on him. He makes mistakes. Clemson has a defense to be able to put pressure on him, so I'm going to take Clemson in this one. And I think Cade Klubnik gets it figured out in this game.
I also like Clemson. They kind of remind me of last year's Ohio State team. You know, you could argue that Clemson has the best team on paper this year. And, you know, last year, Ohio State, it was always a matter of time before they finally clicked. You know, it was always a matter of time before the best team on paper became the best team in the nation. So I think I'm not out on Clemson completely. I do think that they really can't afford another loss. Simply because I have them over 10.5 wins, so they need to win out. But I also don't. I just think if they start 1-2, no matter how good they are, they're going to start spiraling. So I do think that this is. They don't necessarily need to figure it out this game. They just need to they just need to kind of start playing to who they are. And that's not going to happen in 60 minutes, but, it can start this game and then continue the next. So I got them covering. But, man, we're going to see how loud Georgia Tech Stadium is going to get because that place is going to be rocking.
Yeah, I just want to point out, too, Haynes King did not play last week with a lower back injury. I think he's projected to play this week, but just keep that in the back of your mind.
Clayton, who do you like and why?
Just give me Clemson. I think it's going to come down to coaching, and I think we kind of forget about Dabo and what he's done. And when it comes to ACC play, he's always ready. Troy's not a trap game per se, but emotional game coming off LSU. I think Dabo's going to have them prepared. They're going to come in, and people are going to be questioning why they were even questioning Clemson after this week. So give me Clemson to cover spread pretty easily. It's pretty low just right now because of last week, but I think they win double digit pretty easily.
Mike, you said it. I'm with you, man. I'm not ready to just jump off the Clemson train quite yet. I think last week is maybe what they needed. Time to flip the switch and show us all the talent you guys have on the roster and remind us that you guys have been the kings of the ACC for a decade. I like Clemson minus 3.5. Moving down, the Georgia Bulldogs travel to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. I kind of touched on this, but, really it's Georgia's first true test of the season. They're 2-0, but wins over Marshall and Austin, PA. Kind of unimpressive. If you're a Bulldog fan, I imagine that there's still something to be desired. It's the first full season with Gunnar Stockton at the helm. Can you return to Georgia form that we once knew you as? And then on the flip side, Tennessee enters 2-0 as well. Big week 1 win over Syracuse down in Atlanta. Joey Aguilar now at the helm for the Tennessee offense. They put up 117 points in 2 games. He specifically has accounted for 5 touchdowns and 500 yards. It sounds like both of Tennessee's cornerback 1 and 2, are probably going to be out in this game, so that may play a factor. That being said, a couple stats for you, fellas. The Georgia Bulldogs are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. However, they're 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 games against the Tennessee Volunteers. With that, the line is Georgia minus 4, the over-under 49.5. Q, who do you like and why?
So you're saying Joey Aguilar is out?
No.
Cornerbacks.
Oh, I thought you said quarter. I was like, what?
Nope. Both are quarterback 1 and 2.
I kind of like Tennessee. They have not beaten Georgia, I want to say 2017, I think. I think that's what that stat said. I don't know. I saw it today. But I still kind of like Tennessee. I think they have the better quarterback in Joey Aguilar, and he's exceeding everybody's expectations right now. I think as a Tennessee fan, you're very hopeful for what he has in store. This is also a big test for Tennessee. I mean, it's kind of a revamped team, and there's still some drama lingering between Nico still and the trade. But I don't know. I like Tennessee. I know there's unknowns on both teams, and I don't really know that much about Georgia at the moment, but I kind of like Tennessee. I would lean more towards the spread than a money line, but nonetheless.
Q, you said, this is the biggest game for Joey Aguilar here. I think in order for Tennessee to win, they need to put up at least 30 points or more. They need to put pressure on Georgia in the first quarter, make them feel uncomfortable. You have Gunnar Stockton back there. It's kind of a question mark. I think for Georgia to win, they need to make it a slow-paced game, milk the clock, run the ball, see if they can hang around in the fourth quarter when that comes around. This game almost gives me Florida State, Alabama vibes. You have like I said, Gunnar Stockton question mark. Alabama had a question mark quarterback. And then you have Joey Aguilar from UCLA that went to Tennessee, had to deal with the Nico drama, has some swagger to him, kind of playing with a chip on his shoulder, and this is the game to prove it. So Rocky Top's going to be loud. It's giving me vibes of the Florida State game, but I'm going to take Georgia to cover here. But I could be very, very, very wrong.
Clayton?
I think we've seen more from Tennessee. Kind of don't know what this Georgia team is yet. But that being said, dude, I'm staying away from this game. I'm not going to necessarily choose a winner. I think the only advantage Tennessee has is the fact that it's in Tennessee. I mean, sure, Georgia didn't necessarily look the best last week, but when you're playing an opponent like that, sometimes it happens. But yeah, I don't know. We've seen Tennessee more, so I think we're a little bit more confident in Tennessee, but we also don't know the full strength and power of Georgia yet. So if I had to choose, I'd go Tennessee strictly for the fact that it's at home, but I think it's going to be a close game.
If you're looking for an upset on the week, this is a game where it's going to come from.
Agreed. Yeah, it's one of those games where, if Georgia flexes its muscle and proves to us that, hey, we're not going anywhere, would I be surprised? No. I lean right now Tennessee, just, based on solely of I've seen more from them at this point. Georgia hasn't been battle tested by anyone, let alone on the road. So I like Tennessee because of that fact. That's where I lean right now. But like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if, Georgia reminds us just who they are. Moving on, we have another battle of Florida this week. South Florida travels to Miami. As mentioned previously, maybe the biggest shocker of the season through 2 weeks. South Florida travels to Hard Rock Stadium to take on the new look Carson Beck-led Miami Hurricanes, fellas. As mentioned, I think kind of crazy to say, but South Florida probably has the best resume in the country to date. Maybe not, but maybe. They got wins over formerly ranked Boise State and a road win in Gainesville. And Byron Brown, leader of the team, 473 yards, 109 yards rushing through 2 games. If you haven't watched him yet, I would recommend to everybody out there to watch him. The guy's just an absolute bruiser at the quarterback position. And through 2 games, the Bulls defense is allowing just 11.5 points per game. Flip side of that, Miami enters 2-0. Got the huge week 1 win over Notre Dame and then just blew out Bethan Cookman this past week. Touched on it previously, but Carson Beck found his love once again for football. He's got over 500 yards passing and 4 touchdowns on the season. And the Canes have a revamped defense that's looked great through 2 weeks. Currently, the line is Miami minus 17.5, over under 56.5. Mike, what are we thinking?
South Florida was an 8.5-point underdog against Boise State, won it. They were a 19.5-point underdog against Florida, won it. 17.5-point underdog against Miami. I don't think they win it. I don't. I think the victory run here comes to an end. I will say if they win it, they can afford to lose 1 game in the American and still make the playoffs as a group of 5 team, as long as they win the American. It's going to be a good game, boys. We have 2 top-ranked defenses coming in this game. South Florida is currently ranked 18th in the country on the defensive side, and then Miami is ranked 16th in the country. So I would like to see Miami establish the run game early. We know what Carson Beck is going to do. He's back to his old self. Like you said, he found the love of the game. So, yeah, if they can get Carson Fletcher going, it's going to be a lot of points. So I will say Miami needs to keep the turnovers limited. South Florida has taken advantage of that so far this year. They have 4 turnovers, 4 capitalized turnovers on the year so far. So eliminate the turnovers, and I think it's Miami's game to lose. So I'll take Miami here.
Yeah, I like Miami as well. I think this is kind of going to play out to start like the USF Miami game last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but USF took a second quarter lead at 15-14, and Cam Ward never looked back. They won 50-15. So I think it's going to start like that. I can see USF getting up early, not by much, but I think Miami, with how talented they are, and I would almost argue that they kind of have an extra chip on their shoulder because they saw the win that they had at Florida, and so they're kind of going to want to shut them up and shut down the hype. I can see them just obliterating them. I think the biggest key to the game is we all know that Miami's defensive line is going to get to Byron Brown, but they're going to need to contain him too because he's probably right behind John Mateer, the second best dual threat quarterback in the nation right now. So I would like to see how well they contain him, but on the flip side, I also kind of want to see how calm Byron Brown really is against another top-ranked defense and playing at another hostile environment. So I think it'll be interesting, but I got Miami big here.
I take 17.5 points. That's a lot of points. That's a 3-score game, you know. I mean, USF keeps it close, but I think they still end up losing probably by 2 touchdowns. But I think the spread here is a safe move. No.
I just want to say one thing before you go, Jake. I think this game is also going to be like Tennessee, Georgia, where either outcome like really wouldn't surprise me. Like if USF covers the spread, they're a good football team. They beat Florida, but if Miami just obliterates them, I'm not going to be surprised either outcome. I don't think.
I'll be bold. Fortune favors the bold, fellas. USF, man. Put your name on the map. Cement your legacy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just taking the spread. I don't.
Okay.
I don't have.
I mean, honestly, wouldn't it be a bad move? You know, make some money off of it.
Stones to take a money line, but gosh, that would be electric. Moving on, fellas. Little Saturday night action. The Texas A&M Aggies travel to South Bend to take on the Fighting Irish this Saturday night. Texas A&M enters 2-0, but haven't, kind of a common theme. They haven't really played anybody yet, so it's their first true test, and it's on the road. Their offense is off to a quick start. Marcel Reed definitely seems like he's the guy down there. He's got 7 touchdowns and over 500 yards through the first 2 weeks. Year 2 with Mike Elko. I think if you're a Texas A&M fan, you're feeling good so far this year, and hope to pull off the road upset. We're on the flip side. Notre Dame's entering 0-1. We mentioned it, but Notre Dame lost to Miami in week 1, and then they had a bye week after the 3-point loss. So I think Notre Dame's definitely had some time to hit the drawing board, get back on track. I think there were a lot of ups and downs from week 1. You had a freshman as your starting quarterback, CJ Carr, who, to me, he seems like he's the guy. He was able to lead you on a fourth quarter comeback, game-tying drive against Miami. Ultimately, they lost the game, but I think you saw a lot from that kid, and I think you saw a lot of grit. I do think that heading into this game, another thing we touched on with the Miami game was Jeremiah Love had 10 carries. I think going into this game for sure, you've had a week to sit there and just let it sink in that Jeremiah Love is going to be a focal point for the Notre Dame offense in this game. With that, fellas, Texas A&M right now is +7. The over-under is 49.5. Who do we like and why?
I'll go. I like Notre Dame. I mean, you picked up on it, Jake, but all I ask from Marcus Freeman is give the ball to Jeremiah Love. I mean, for the love of God, you have arguably one of the best running backs in the country, and you're going up against a Texas A&M defense that when they played UTSA, they gave up 6 yards per carry. You throw Jeremiah Love in the mix, the talent difference there, he should be able to eat this game. So, yeah, I think Robert Henry for UTSA last week had 177 rushing yards against Texas A&M. I mean, Jeremiah Love is 20 times better than him. So, yeah, give him the ball, give him 13-plus carries, and just let them eat and find out what happens. But yeah, I love Notre Dame in this game. I think it's a must-win game for them. I think they want it more, and they need to win it for playoff committee. So yeah, give me Notre Dame.
I'll take Texas A&M, the old Aggies, money line, baby. Notre Dame hasn't shown me much, and I think they lost a lot of their identity through Leonard being able to be back there. I know Love hasn't ran the ball a lot, but that took a lot of pressure off of Love. Leonard being able to run the ball just as much as Jeremiah Love was. They had to defend 2 running backs practically back there. Now you have Carr that comes in and is not nearly as mobile. He can run the ball, but does not have the same talent as what Leonard did last year. If Notre Dame would have played a cupcake game like everyone else in the country, and Carr would have been able to get a little bit more comfortable, but now he's going to go play Miami and then Texas A&M for his first 2 games. That's tough. So give me the Aggies money line, walking out of South Bend winners.
This game's tricky for me because I have Texas A&M winning the SEC, but I also had them losing this game, and I think I might have them for more reason. I'm not a fan of Notre Dame entering this game 0-1 because you start 0-2 and you have your foot out the door of the playoffs already, and this is the first 2 games of the season. So I think Notre Dame knows how big this game is, not only to get a quality win, but to not have your foot out of the door from the playoffs in the first 2 weeks. So I think Notre Dame has a lot more to lose, and it being in South Bend does not help Texas A&M's case. I think Texas A&M's strength is their offensive line right now. I think their weakness, and I touched on it earlier, is definitely their defense. So if I had to, oh man, the spread's tricky too. I'd say it's a touchdown game. I'll probably lean Notre Dame in this one.
I am curious to know how CJ Carr handles the pressure with Mike Elko. He handled the pressure against Miami fine. He contained himself, remained calm, but Mike Elko is going to bring the house.
I loved what I saw from CJ Carr week 1. Like that's as tough of a week 1 game as you can ask a freshman quarterback to play.
Besides Ohio State, but
what freshman quarterback played a road game?
I forget he's technically a sophomore or whatever.
You know what I mean, though. It's very similar to the youngest quarterback in the NFL, J.J. McCarthy, playing his first true game on the road against
the college football podcast.
I know it is. Just saying, very similar situation. But no, I think I just really like Notre Dame. Q, you said it, man. Notre Dame, their schedule gets noticeably weaker the rest of the season. This is your last chance at a true statement win. I fully expect them. I do think Jeremiah Love's going to get 20 carries. Jadarian Price, their RB2, could probably be RB1 for, all but maybe 15 other teams in the country. So I think it's going to be run heavy this game. And they're going to get back to, a lot more smash mouth football, kind of take some pressure off CJ Carr. The spread's tricky for sure. I do like Notre Dame to win the game. I don't know if they cover the spread. Could come down to a field goal, but I think it's going to be a great game. A lot of physical play in the trenches. That being said, fellas, some other notable games around the country. So, like I mentioned, week 3, we're starting to see some more conference games, specifically in the SEC. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. Arkansas travels to Ole Miss. We got Florida at LSU. Little shout out to a previous lifetime of ours, but little Pac-12 after dark. Utah Utes travel to Wyoming. And then I leave it with a team I'm throwing on upset alert. This is a Friday night game. The Indiana State Sycamores, home of Larry Bird, travel to take on the Indiana Hoosiers, fellas. We've talked about FCS, FBS matchups before. This is one of those games where you're going to have an FCS team that's only going to be on national TV one time all season. You don't think they're going to play their hearts out? Upset alert, fellas.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything's
Throw the
possible.
whole book out there like Idaho did to Oregon last year.
Yep.
Except Idaho didn't win.
No, I'm just saying they're going to throw the whole book out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
bud. Okay, bud.
He didn't say they won. He said throw the whole book out there.
Why that game? Why that game?
Why are you getting so upset about a game you won? Because it was a little bit embarrassing. Was it a little embarrassing?
I'll never be embarrassed about a win.
Yikes. Okay.
That being said, fellas, we're going to move on to week 3 cards. I'll start us out. I am 4-6 through the first couple weeks. Not great, but we're finding ourselves. We're catching some momentum. Feeling good heading into this week. Mike sitting at 4-6 right there with me. Q sitting at 3-7. What's it like being at the bottom? I wouldn't know. That being said, here is my card. Starting out, I like Alabama -21. Same reason I wrote them last week. That team is pissed off. They're going to destroy everybody in their path, and Wisconsin is no exception. Next, I like USC -21. They travel to Purdue. They're my lock of the week last week. I love USC right now. It's Lincoln Riley trying to run up the score and get the boys ready for conference play. This is conference play technically against Purdue, but you could argue this is one more preseason game. After that, I like Utah -23.5 at Wyoming. Touched on it before. I freaking love this Utah team, man. They're so good. Wyoming is so bad. I expect them to win by a lot more than that. Then finally, the Ohio State Buckeyes -31.5 against Ohio. I think it's one more of those games where, Julian Sayin did the job week 1 against Texas, but now you got a couple cupcake games. Like, it's time to start rolling them out, start getting them comfortable, start asking them to do more. And who better to do that against than longtime in-state rival, the Ohio Bobcats. Battle for the state of Ohio.
I don't know if you can call it a rivalry, but yeah. It's more just like an ass whooping every time they play.
They're going to shock the nation, bud.
Clayton, do you know geographically where Ohio is at in relation to Ohio
This is on the east side. I don't even know what town Ohio's in.
Let's just call it the team out west.
Yeah, I mean it hasn't been played since 2010. This is the first time in 15 years we're playing them.
Yeah, conference realignment and what have you.
Nothing to do with that.
Took a few years to get the game back on the schedule.
I think they were just tired of getting their ass kicked, dude.
Yeah, Jake picked up on it. 4-6 on my card. 1-1 on my locks. I lost a lock last week, but still with a 1-1 record on my locks, wouldn't know what it's like to be at the bottom. My card, I'm going Utah at Wyoming. Give me Utah -23.5. Utah looks like the best team in the Big 12. I like their defense. It's going to be too much for the Cowboys to handle. They're allowing 19 points combined out of 2 games so far, and Devin Dampier is just straight up balling. He can't be stopped. He has 398 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the year. Also to note, quarterback 1 for Wyoming, Caden Anderson, will not be playing in this game from what it looks like. So give me the Utes -23.5. My next game, I'm going Colorado at Houston. Give me Colorado +5.5. I think Colorado has more talent. Colorado played a tough Georgia Tech team and was in that game until the end. Houston went 4-8 last year. Hadn't had much competition through the 2 games this year. So I don't really know what their team's like. I think Colorado has a talent advantage. Plus you have Ryan Staub. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He's getting the quarterback 1 role this week. He balled out last week when he went in for a very short opportunity. He went 7 for 10, 157 yards. I think with him being the quarterback 3 and now getting the quarterback 1 job, I think that says a lot. By Dion giving him that spot, I think there's something there. So yeah, give me Colorado plus 5.5 in that game. Game 3 on my card, I'm going to go Clemson at Georgia Tech. Give me Clemson minus 3.5. Talked about it earlier in the episode, but the defense is going to be the answer in this game. I think Clemson as a whole for a team. Q, you picked up on it, but they have a chip on their shoulder. They're trying to prove something here. So give me Clemson minus 3.5. And then my last game, Jake, you took them, but Wisconsin at Alabama. I'll take Alabama minus 21.5. Wisconsin will still be without their starting quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr. Danny O'Neal will be their starting quarterback again. He's thrown for an interception in both games. Also want to note that Jeff Grimes is their offensive coordinator at Wisconsin now. He was at Kansas last year, could not move the ball in Big 12 play. And that Alabama defense is a whole different story. So I think Wisconsin will struggle to move the ball in that game. So give me Bama minus 21.5.
First game up, I got Fox Big Noon kickoff. I got Oregon at Northwestern. I got Oregon minus 27.5, coming off of a 66-point win against Oklahoma State. You could argue that Northwestern is the worst team in the Big Ten, so I don't expect Oregon to slow down the momentum. Second game, I got Oklahoma at Temple. Oklahoma minus 23.5. I think John Mateer is the front runner for Heisman right now. I don't think a game like Temple is going to be a trap game for an experienced quarterback like him. Boy, I did not mean to put that game on there. Let me skip that. USC minus 21 at Purdue. I got USC minus 21. They are the highest scoring team in the nation. And yes, Purdue is 2-0, but don't get me wrong, this is Purdue still. So I'm gonna have USC to probably win by 30 plus in that one. Boy, I deleted the wrong game, but we're gonna roll with the one I have on my card because I'm confident in it. Not really, but I have Tennessee plus 3.5 at Georgia. Did not mean to leave that one on there, but we're gonna roll with it. I'm confident in Joey Aguilar. Yeah, we got Nealon. We got Nealon lighting that place up. I think it's a daytime game, but we're gonna roll with the Tennessee Volunteers in that game.
Not what you want to hear out of a dude that's 3-7 on his card.
Hey,
Let me
that's what he needs though, is just picking random games and not going with your gut, because obviously that's
what I do is I write all the games down, I go through them all, and then I delete them. I deleted the wrong one, but I like Tennessee. I wrote them on my card for a reason.
So Clayton's on to something. There's a saying that goes a little something like this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's broke, so Q's trying to fix it.
Let me tell you something. I'm staying silent because for those of you who don't remember / new listeners, Jake started off hot on the Lock of the Week parlay last year, and then he was in first for a long time, and then Fit hit the shan. He lost the last like 7 or 8 and finished dead last. So
it's not true. I stuck a win in there.
Oh, so you went 1-7 the last 8 or something like that.
I'm not going to stay silent. If you remember last year, Q started out slow, and I'm pretty sure the listeners, we had a thing going where like you would win if you just bet against them. And I think that's starting to play again this year.
Not true. Okay. Mind you, I'm one game behind.
Yes, it is true. You'd be 7-3 if you bet the opposite of what you're doing.
All I'm going to say is this, fellas. Q, Mike, and I all give out like a full card. Clayton just partakes in the Lock of the Week parlay. Clayton's got the highest win percentage out of any of us. Just food for thought. It's time to kick it into gear, fellas. It's time to go get some wins.
Let's get into Lock of the Week parlay here, boys. Current standings: Jake 2-0. Myself 1-1. I fell last week. I took Arizona State. They did not cover. Clayton moves up in the standings. He did not hit his first lock. Hit his lock last week. He took the under in the Iowa State game. And Q is sitting at 0-2 still. My lock this week, going to get back on the right track here. I'm taking Oregon State at Texas Tech. Give me Texas Tech minus 22.5. Oregon State is coming off a bad loss to Fresno State. They're 0-2 on the year. They have one of the worst defenses in the country. Texas Tech has outscored their opponents 129-21. Texas Tech has a 10th ranked defense in the country as well. So it's going to be hard for Oregon State to move that ball at all. And then this Texas Tech team knows how to score and score fast. So I love the points in this one. This will be a blowout. Let me remind you that the Red Raiders roster this offseason, they spent $55 million in NIL money. So this roster is loaded. So give me the Red Raiders minus 22.5 for my lock.
Raiders. Before I give my lock, I just want to preface this with something real quick. I don't run from criticism. I embrace it. And Q, you're right. I started out 3-0 last year. I finished like 4-7. Been hearing a lot of chatter, a lot of murmurs, a lot of people saying, "Hey, Jake's 2-0. Can you keep it up?" The answer is absolutely. I'm going to keep it up. And with that being said, before I give my lock, one more thing. It absolutely pains me to give Quentin's favorite team any type of shout out or credit whatsoever, just because he's so annoying. With that, the Oregon Ducks minus 27.5 at Northwestern is my lock of the week. They feel like when Ohio State lost to Michigan last year, they just flipped the switch and became this insane football team. Oregon, to me, seems like they're in the same boat. They're just behind the curve because their last loss last year was their final game of the season. This year, they look unbelievable. Dante Moore has to be insanely happy that he left UCLA and he's with Oregon now. Team's just on cruise control. I love Oregon. Oregon minus 27.5.
I'm going to roll with South Carolina minus 5.5 against Vandy. Night game at South Carolina. I was kind of surprised that the spread was this low. I know Diego and Vanderbilt as a whole is looking really good. They were down by 10 against Virginia Tech last week. Shut them out, won 44-20. Shut them out in the second half. They're looking good. I just don't know if they have what it takes to beat or keep up with a team like South Carolina yet. I know we all know about that Alabama victory last year that kind of sparked this whole Vanderbilt hype. It's a new year. I told Mike earlier, it's Vanderbilt. I kind of regret saying that. I don't think this is a team. I don't think this is a Vanderbilt team that you can just say, "Oh, it's Vanderbilt" anymore. But I do think South Carolina has a Heisman hopeful quarterback that is comfortable with leading his team. Last year, it kind of took him a while to get going. They started at 3-3, ended up finishing 6-3, but he looks comfortable, and they have the fastest dude in college football at receiver. So I think South Carolina has the talent and what it takes to win by double digits in this game. So I'm going South Carolina minus 5.5.
There's one team in the nation currently who's only given up 7 points so far. Any guesses?
Ohio State.
There it is. Yeah. I saw the spread and I was like, Jake, you got my back on this as well. I was like, that looks too good to be true. 31.5. Ohio State's going to put up 49 in the first half. This is a classic.
So you know, Clayton, we have a rule. You can't bet your favorite team. I mean, I think we can take it to a vote for the time being. See if we can let him.
If you guys don't like it, I got one in the back pocket. So
let me say something. You don't fix what's broke. We haven't hit a lock. It's broke. Let's fix it. Take Ohio State.
I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I don't hit this, I'll be sharing the bottom, Or Quentin will still be down there all by himself.
I'll still be down there. Yeah.
I don't know. I know we're not supposed to, but like if it was like Texas, Ohio State, I want it. I'm not going to be too like emotionally involved in this game,
I can live with that pick. It's just tough for me. Like, you guys know how rivalry games are. Like,
the game literally hasn't been played since 2010.
This Bobcats team, I mean, they always
show
up.
What do you know about
Hey, you must have never heard the words Parker Navarro. You're about to learn. That's Ohio's
I don't think I ever have.
Clayton has not, in fact, heard those words.
He's a stud.
Q, have you ever heard the words national championship?
All right, that's it for this episode, boys.
Colorado Buffaloes have one.
1984, right, Jake?
1990.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I knew it was around that era. I got a little fact for you. Ohio State does have a running back, led them in rushing yards last week. Name is Bo Jackson. What a guy.
Bo.
No.
He probably has a 30th of the athleticism. But
There's just something about the name Bo in football, you know?
Bo Nix.
You don't know Bo.
Bo Lombardi. Probably the best
All right,
Bo
boys,
out there.
good episode. Love the lock of the week parlay this week. I'm very confident on it. Anything else?
Good old OH. Good old Pink Floyd, baby.
Kansas on bye this week, but it's always rock chalk. See you boys next week.
JJ McCarthy's overrated.